All right, so welcome back from the break. You're watching Intentionality here on Metro Television, and this afternoon, as Nanaya mentioned, we've got ladies join us on the set today, and our first conversation is going to be with this amazing lady. She's been traveling a lot. I mean, she's been doing a lot of stuff, and today she's joined us here, and we're singing the song earlier. I really like to party. I really like to party. Ladies and gentlemen, AMAARAE. Can you give her the drum roll? Woo. Okay, AMAARAE, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
This is a table of life.
Oh, period.
Yeah, good to see you.
See you too.
What's been happening though? Like on Twitter, I mean, you were saying something outside earlier. You were saying that you love Ghana Twitter.
Yeah, I do.
What's about Ghana Twitter?
No. I mean, like the Instagram accounts that post about like things people say about. But honestly, yeah, Ghana Twitter is a very funny and very vicious place. But it's all
So
good.
what have you been hearing about yourself?
Wow. So every day so many interesting things. But I think probably the funny. Do you guys know who Billie Eilish is?
Yeah.
Someone called me Afcon Billie Eilish one time. I swear. I think that's like the funniest and most painful thing like I've seen ever. But honestly, like now when I think about it, I actually laugh. Like
Afcon.
Afcon Billie Eilish show. Like also straight bullets for no reason. So it's too
Is
much.
it because of the fashion sense?
No, I think
Probably the voice.
Oh, the voice.
I guess I don't even know. I don't even know. But I thought it was just funny.
But do you take these things to heart?
No, I have like thick skin. Like people are gonna say what they're gonna say, but that doesn't stop me from waking up every day and doing what I have to do. Yeah.
Today I was watching a number of your videos on YouTube and going through the comments. A lot of positive comments in there, and most of them seem outside Ghana.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Ghanaians don't know you much?
I feel like maybe probably due to the genre of music that I make, right? Like most people here consider me like an alternative artist, whereas like in the outside space, people look at me as like a pop artist, or like even an Afro-pop artist at times. Okay. So I think that it's just due to the genre and the way I think people perceive my music too. Like I get a lot of people saying like, oh, we can't relate, or like, etc. But I think that as like time is going and I'm growing, I do feel like the Ghanaian audience is familiarizing themselves more with me. Okay.
And I was asking them earlier, and I was asking earlier that would you accept some of the blame that
Oh, wow. Why do you think so?
I'm just asking.
I feel like no, not really, because I mean, my first year that I started doing music, like when I moved back to Ghana, I actually was here for a year, like trying to push my music and stuff like that. But I think that at the time, like the kind of music that was buzzing, I'm trying to think about like King Promise was like coming up that year. Who else? Ebony. Like, so I feel like my music, they didn't really like know where to fit my music or even know how to like really serve it to the Ghanaian public. So I think that's probably why I had a bit of a struggle like my first few years. But now I feel like music is really changing and the tide is really turning and like people are getting more creative with their art. So like, yeah.
And you were born in the States, raised in Ghana, and also the States. How does the difference in culture reflect in your music?
Wow, that's a good question. How does the difference in culture reflect? I honestly like to say, like, for me, I feel like the essence of the music that I make is, like, African. Like, the drums are all African. Like, even when we're doing the album, we came to Ghana and had, like, live percussionists come and do all of our drums. We sampled our 808s from, there's this, like, instrument called an udu. I don't know if you guys have, but an udu is basically like an organic 808s. Like that's how we sampled the 808s for our album. So I think everything is quintessentially like African, but like I've traveled all over the world and I've lived in so many places, so I like to take inspiration from samples, from sounds, from experiences and like fuse that with the African drums.
And you have this creative mind, and Africa is sort of setting the sound and the music now globally. And we have sort of like Africa is now known in the eyes of the world as doing Afrobeat, piano, high life. and we are being labeled. For creative minds like yours, do you feel it's a sort of like a restriction for certain creative minds that do alternative or tap into different sounds to create music? Do you feel it's like sort of like a label restricting minds like yours?
I wouldn't say it's restricting me as opposed to like restricting African music overall, right?
Okay.
Like, I think we have so much potential to evolve as all of us as African artists, whether you do Afro-pop, Afro-fusion, Altair, whether you do, Ghanaian rap or Nigerian rap or South African rap. So I think that's the restriction of just calling everything Afro beats internationally is what, to me, is restrictive, right?
Okay.
Because we need to allow ourselves to have like subgenres so that different people in different pockets can thrive. Like what I've noticed in like the US and UK industries, right? An artist who makes like a completely alternative sound or someone who does purely rap finds themselves able to make money because they have a subgenre, they have an audience, they have a niche. So they can tour, they can even get certain brand deals that are specific to their niche. So they're still able to make money. Whereas I feel like here, because there are no real subgenres and everything kind of seems under one umbrella, there's no real direction for people to move to even be able to make money in their like niche or specific fields, you know? So I think it's restrictive to African music overall, and not just creative minds.
Ama, having lived in Ghana and the West, I'm sure you have a fair idea of music industry and that of the West. And we've had this conversation several times as to how we can make Ghanaian artists go global, be bigger and better like our siblings. I mean, we call them our siblings, Nigerians. Share with me your thoughts on the Ghanaian music industry. What do you think that is the reason why we're unable to go far, that we're mostly in Ghana?
Well, first of all, I have to give like a shout out to like artists like Jackie, right, who just did like Afro Nation in Miami, Blacko as well, who I think is like also setting a cool pace internationally. And Stonebwoy, right, he's doing great with his album. What I personally think is that we're missing community, in my opinion. Like I think that with our counterparts over the pond, like they really do foster community, and for them it's like one big movement. But I think that there's also an allowance once again of like experimentation even with their music, and they're now they are giving light to all the different subgenres. Like Naira Marley is different from Burna Boy, is different from Thames, is different from Ashake. Like, you know, it's actually like a variety that's being accepted. So I think two things, like really allowing variety to shine, and then also like fostering community where we're all pushing each other up and, you know, sharing opportunities with one another.
This question is going away from music. I was just reading about you, and they're saying that you represent fluid of gender and sexuality. What does it mean?
You have to ask them, because I truly don't know. It's so funny.
You saw that, right?
Like how?
Like, so I was like, So wait, you guys don't write your own Wikipedia bio and all that?
Is that in my Wikipedia?
Yes.
Do you know what? That's my. Do you know what? You know, Wikipedia allows people to edit pages.
Yes.
That's when I see that, I just wonder. Like, I'm very curious to know why are people putting this specific label on me. I think it's the fashion. I think like the way I dress is very like expressive, right? So I can be androgynous one day where I lean more towards the masculine side, but in the same vein, I'll wear like a dress, have my hair like nice, long, and pretty. Like, so I think maybe that's what it is. Like, the experimentation in the way I dress, I think, is what makes people label me that way. But I think like, honestly, I just like to express myself. And I think we just live in a time where people like to understand something, so they label it or put it in a box, you know.
But you mentioned earlier about how, you know, at the time, Ghanaians are not really open-minded to certain genres or new forms of music. And at the time, they were more interested with the ebony kind of music. And that was the time you also came out and all that. Now, do you think you are more accepted now, your kind of music that you are doing? Have Ghanaians accepted it at this very moment?
I think we have yet to see, to be honest. I think Ghanaians are just proud to see, like, you know, a young female outside, like repping the flag and like, you know, being a good representative and a good face of that. So I think that's where we're at now, is that people are just genuinely proud and are now starting to say like, oh, let me tap in and like listen to the music and see what it has to offer. But yeah.
Okay, but then do you have a particular market you want to reach with your music apart from Ghana? Because you have a certain style, like you're talking, there is a fusion of Afrobeat, pop, among others. What's your market?
The world. Like global domination for me. I made this album specifically with the intent of like wanting to reach all different parts of the world. I want to be able to go to Japan and tour, Australia, Tibet, you know, Korea, in the States, Hawaii. Like I want to be able to really, really set my foot everywhere in the world and like really not just carry the Ghanaian flag, but like carry the African youth culture. You know what I mean? I think it's important.
But is it working at this very moment? How is it going so far?
Yeah, I think it's going really well. I mean, I think like I've been able to tour so far Barcelona, Portugal. I have 3 tour dates coming in the United States. My UK and EU tours are almost sold out. So I mean, you know, I think it's going well.
Before you go to the music she's promoting, are we not curious about her voice? Yes, like, you know, the way you're talking right now is way different from the way you sing. So do something for us before Desi comes in, because I'm curious. Honestly, I was waiting to hear your voice. I was thinking that you're gonna, you know, that kind of.
I think that's why they called me Afcon Billie Eilish. Actually, because of the whispers. Maybe that's the vibe. Yeah, I think my speaking voice is different from my singing voice. That's just because that the register that I choose to sing in, I feel like best expresses, you know, sensitivity and vulnerability. So that's just how I taught myself to sing. That's when I was doing music lessons. That's kind of the sound that we explored. But you know, I've heard a lot of that Castro actually also didn't sound how he like sang. So I think certain artists just like that's their vibe. Someone
says your songs are sensual. You know. But anyway, let's talk about New Baby from the Fountain. Ladies and gentlemen, Fountain Baby. How's it going? I mean, how do you feel about this project?
I'm proud. I think that, you know, I really got to push myself as an artist and as a producer and create a sound that I feel like is like global. You know?
Yeah, and the songs on there, I've seen on Twitter people talk about, you know, we say, oh, High Life is there, and our artists are not doing anything to High Life, but people have made references to some of the songs in there, and I've listened to, you know, the unique sound and how it encompasses a lot of sounds, both foreign, local, everything in there. Has it always been like intentional to do that with this one?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of interesting because even in my last project as well, like I have a record that samples this like I sampled that as well, you know what I mean? And like I have another song that I speak Tree all the way throughout, but people don't listen to the album, so how would you know? Like there's a whole song where I just speak Tree on my last album. So I think I've always incorporated, you know, my nationality and my sound, but with this one specifically, like I think we just understood better how to fuse my sound with, like, you know, especially High Life. Like we really made a High Life song. It's called Big Stepper, and like we had horns from here, we had like percussion from here. The guy who produced it, Kwame KZ, he's one of my exec producers, he's Ghanaian. So like to me it was really important to like pay homage to like the music that my grandfather, for instance, grew up listening to, you know what I mean, like the Ebo Taylors and stuff like that, and those CB like to pay homage to that type of sound. So yeah, it was very intentional. And even like one of my more mainstream songs, like Co-Star, if you break it down and you play it with a live band, you realize that it's a High Life song that we've just disguised as a pop song. It has all the
elements.
Yeah, like all the elements and like the academics behind it, you know, is like High Life.
So why are we shying away from the genre High Life? Because we do a music that has everything High Life in it, but then we project it as Afrobeat, we project it as something else. Why? Is it that we feel High Life will not sell us to the world, or what really is it?
Oh, me, I don't know, but if you read all my interviews, I've said specifically like High Life is like a big inspiration. I think with the Western world, they are just not educated enough. So every time, even if you speak about something in depth, like High Life, like I've gone to the extent of talking about Oforian Ponsa, Kojo Entry, Dasebre Jamina, Daddy Lumba, all these guys, and you know, I've spoken about like High Life in depth, but they really sometimes they'll cut all of that out and just say Afrobeats, because to them, the listener or the reader that's reading can't get into that part of the culture. But I think it's dismissive, and I think it's we also have to start taking control of that narrative and like push people to also be educated about our music history and why we are where we are today. You know,
and I think things are changing because Grammy has just included African performance as a category. Yeah, so
You know, I'm
hopefully,
yeah.
thing, but I'll say it doesn't guarantee us nominations.
you think so? That we can bring out a good High Life song that will get them.
They are not going enough to High Life. They'll give another
when you say it doesn't guarantee us a Grammy, like what exactly do you mean?
No, I think that a lot of people haven't understood what it means. They think that, okay, there's someone will be nominated drill by force in the Grammys. Meanwhile, there are a number of sounds that were talked about over 10 of them.
Yeah.
So if the best African music performance category is named and there are about 6 people, we may have a situation where there wouldn't be any High Life or Ghanaian, there will be Kizomba and the
Things
others.
will change. Let's see. We are getting there.
I'm just saying, we just have to probably, as we're saying, make our songs better. You know, the mastering,
and set the agenda. I think that's what we are not doing. We are not setting the agenda.
Set the agenda for Hala, because I remember last year when the Grammy CEO came to town, he said that if there's a push and they could consider that, it would be entered in there. I don't think that over the period there's been a push for hip life, say.
No, Amapiano is in, and we've hopped
you know,
on to
in that space, it's been Africa, it's been drill. Asaka, Ghanaian drill. So it'd be like, at that moment, that was what was on top. So like, make we put drill for inside.
And
that's
the
what
thing
I
is,
think.
and our artists don't push it enough because they want to hide under
Not
other
just
genres.
the artists,
Because they are doing
especially
High Life
only
and they'll
the
tell it's Afrobeats.
Even as consumers, do we consume High Life songs? I think Friday.
We'll talk about it again.
Let's talk about it.
Oh no, I actually had my own opinions on that, but I hear you guys. I feel you.
What's your opinion?
My thought process, is that the idea of like an African category is great in practice, but I think it's reductive.
Okay.
As you mentioned, there are way too many genres to place. To just place it under an umbrella of African music. I also think that take a song like Sad Girls or Calm Down or Last Last, right? These are all songs that didn't just do well in Africa, but did well globally, had humongous global impact. So to me, these are now popular songs. They're popular records. So I feel like a record like Calm Down with a remix with Selena Gomez, that should be able to compete in pop categories. I feel like Last Last should be able to compete in hip hop, R&B, or pop categories and not be relegated to just African, because that's reductive of like then the things that people have done to break boundaries, you know? So I think that we just have to kind of weigh the options in that sense. And I do think that it's great that African music is being recognized, but it has to be way more expansive than that, you know? So we'll see how it plays out.
Finally, before you go, I just want you to touch a bit on like the significance of inculcating different genres, like the Afrobeats, there's hip hop on the album, there's hotel, there's jazz, there's everything. And how do you pick your titles for songs?
That's a good question. How do I pick titles for songs? I think sometimes it's in the lyrics or sometimes it's more about the concept that I'm trying to portray. But I've always felt like picking good titles is a good marketing tool because if people find the title interesting, they'll check out the song.
Psychopathic Dance Queen.
Oh, Sociopathic Dance Queen. Actually, when we were writing that record, as I was writing it with my co-writer, he said something. He was like, yeah, this song is for like the sociopathic dance queens. And I was like, boom, that's the title right there. Because people, if you see a title called Sociopathic Dance Queen, you'd be like, what's that? And you go and listen to it. And I think it was the same thing with like Sad Girls Love Money. I was very intentional about that title because if you see that, you're like, I wonder what this sounds like. So I think it's just good marketing to think about the title.
Do you have a favorite on the album? Mine is the first track though, All My Love.
Oh, okay. Oh, with the.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like the
period.
beginning.
Oh,
It's like
nice.
it sets you in the mood, and then the song comes later.
Oh,
on.
cool. That's nice.
Okay.
I like that. I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My favorite now is now starting to change every day. I think right now it's Princess Going Digital. That's the one that I really
Track
like.
number 4.
Yeah. Oh wow, you really listen to the
Yeah.
album. Oh wow, you've done well. Oh. You try. You force.
Album.
Oh, you force.
It's a big step that I heard people talk about.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's also track number 5. Anyway.
Oh,
Okay,
period. She said I came educated. No, I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you did your
Thank you so much
research.
for coming. We've
Thank
seen
you
your
guys for
billboards
having
in
me.
town.
Yeah.
And wish you the very best with Fountain Baby.
Yes,
Anytime
everybody make sure you stream that.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
sure. Oh no, you just add that to people who are watching you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you follow me on socials. It's at AMAARAE at AMAARAE. Make sure you stream my new album out now, Fountain Baby. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, so
I think it already has about 5 stars.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So
Yeah.
far the reviews have been like all
Yeah.
rave reviews. 5,
First
4.
3
Yeah,
songs.
first
9
3
out of
songs.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ghanaians, let's support AMAARAE. Once again, she's not Nigerian, she's Ghanaian.
She's Ghanaian. Oh yeah, Santini.
Ama, a friend Ama.
She's Ghanaian, so let's support her. So
Right.
thank you, Amma, for coming. AMAARAE for coming.